At tonight's Republican debate in Nevada, all roads led back to the GOP's favorite talking points. For instance, a question about the foreclosure crisis led poll leader Herman Cain to denounce the Dodd-Frank bill.
We need to get government out of the way. It starts with making sure that we can boost this economy, and then reform Dodd-Frank and reform a lot of these other regulations that have gotten in the way, and let the market do it just like Mitt has talked about.
The market fixes everything, doesn't it? The same question about foreclosures led Mitt Romney to blast President Obama for not understanding the private sector.
We've had a president responsible for this economy for the last 3 years, and he's failed us. He's failed us in part because he has no idea how the private sector works or how to create. On every single issue, he's made it harder for our economy to reboot. And as a result, we have 25 million Americans out of work, or stop looking for work, or in part-time work and can't get full-time employed. Home values going down. You have median income in America that in the last 3 years has dropped by 10%. Americans are hurting across this country, and the president's out there campaigning. Why isn't he governing? He doesn't understand. He doesn't have a jobs plan even now.
And why all the filibusters by the righties? Joining me now is former Congressman Alan Grayson of Florida. Congressman, great to have you with us tonight. What did you make of Mitt Romney's analysis of how President Obama has handled the economy?
Well, they're living in a dream world, and I understand why. I mean, think about it. They're only talking to 4% of the U.S. population. That's the number of people who actually ever vote in a Republican primary. So they've picked the 4% that are the angriest, most ill-informed people in the entire population, and they're all trying to cater to them. They're trying to make it seem like they're one of them. Now, in Romney's case, to be fair, he has to fake it. You know, he's not such an angry person. He's not such an ignorant person. So he has to actually fake being that way. With the others, I think it comes more naturally. But they're being angry and they're being ignorant in ample regards here, because let's think about it. I mean, the war in Iraq cost us $4 trillion so far. The president is close to finishing it off. They started that war without having any idea to pay for it, and it cost us 8% of our national net worth starting in 2003. Then in 2006, the housing market started to collapse, and I don't think that the free market was what was keeping it up. The free market was what was brought it down, and people have been basically slapped in the face by the invisible hand in the housing market since 2006. Then in 2007 and 2008, Wall Street collapsed, and their answer is to deregulate. You know, had proper regulations, then maybe Wall Street wouldn't have collapsed in the first place. If Dodd-Frank were in place, then we wouldn't have seen a 20% drop in the national net worth in the last 18 months of the Bush administration in 2007 and 2008. Now, that brings us to where we are right now, and it is true that we've had a deficit, but a deficit is simply arithmetic. It's the amount that you take in minus the amount that goes out. The amount that we've taken in has been crushed because many people are broke. The amount that we have to go out, it hasn't increased because of new government programs. It's not like Barack Obama wants everyone to have a pony. It's simply because the cost of Medicare, Medicaid, and all of our social programs increase when people become more dependent on them because of poverty. And the number of food stamp recipients has inflated because more people are hungry. Yeah. More people can't survive and support themselves.
Alan,
so the difference is the deficit.
I want to get your reaction to some other sound bites from the debate. Here's Herman Cain talking about the Occupy Wall Street protests.
Herman Cain, I got to ask you, you said, quote, don't blame, 2 weeks ago, you said, don't blame Wall Street, don't blame the big banks. If you don't have a job and you're not rich, blame yourself. That was 2 weeks ago. The movement has grown. Do you still say that?
Yes, I do still say that. And here's why.
It's the red meat crowd in action. But what's your response to their dismissal of the protests that are taking place?
Well, bear in mind, this is somebody who made an entire career out of figuring out how to pay people only $8 an hour for delivering a $15 pizza. I mean, what is his plan for America? Some new topping? This is somebody who has been out of touch with mainstream America his entire life. He doesn't have any idea what it's like.
What do you make of his lead in the polls, Congressman?
Well, I think it shows how delusional the Republicans really are. But to get back to your original question, it's not your fault if you're out of work when 20 million other Americans are out of work. It's not your fault if you lose your house when so many millions of others are losing their house. It's not your fault that you can't afford to see a doctor when you're sick, when there's 50 million Americans who are in the same boat as you are. Why do we pretend otherwise? Why is it the Republicans want to blame the American people for the tragedy that the Republicans have brought on them?
Congressman Alan Grayson, former Congressman, always a pleasure. Great to have you with us. Always look for your take on things. Thank you.